next speaker for today is Mugdha. Mugdha, you here?
Mugdha, unmute.
Yes.
Okay. So Mugdha Pokharankar is a student of Gogate Jogalekar College, Maharashtra, and she is a third year BSc Mathematics student. And she attended MTTS many times actually. She was there in mini MTTS 2019, OFCM 2020, and then level O of MTTS 2021. And she will be speaking on intermediate value theorem. Yeah, over to you, Mugdha. Please share your screen. Yeah, we can see. Please start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Am I audible now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. In this seminar, I am going to talk about intermediate value theorem for real valued continuous functions. It is one of the most important theorems in real analysis. For proving this result, I will need one lemma that I will prove first. Okay, suppose A is a non-empty subset of R and f is a function from A to R, which is continuous at C, a point in A. And which property does C has? That f of C is greater than 0. Then my claim is that there exists a delta greater than 0 such that given any x in C minus delta to C plus delta, which is in A, then f of x is greater than 0. And more strongly, I can say that fx is greater than f of C by 2, which is a fixed positive real number. Okay, for proving this, please recall the definition. Continuity of function at C. What do we mean by f is continuous at C belonging to A? If you take any epsilon positive, there will exist a delta greater than 0 such that x in A intersected with C minus delta to C plus delta, your fx will be in this region, is f of C by 2 to f of 3 to 3 f of C by 2. Okay, so here I want my fx to be greater than f of C by 2. So which epsilon I should choose? That is f of C by 2. Since f of C is positive, f of C by 2 is positive, hence epsilon is positive. So for this epsilon positive, since f is continuous at C, there exists a delta greater than 0 such that you take any x in C minus delta to C plus delta open interval, which is also in A, then fx will be in f of C minus f of C by 2 to f of C plus f of C by 2. That is, fx will be in f of C by 2, 3 f of C by 2, this open interval. So in particular, my fx will be greater than 0. Right? So this theorem tells us that if my function continuous at C in A, and if f of C is greater than 0, that there exists an open interval intersection with our domain in which the function similar thing you can think of when f of C is less than 0. Then also there will exist a delta greater than 0 such that you take any x in C minus delta to C plus delta intersection with A, f of x will be less than f of C by 2, and in particular it will be negative. For this you can choose epsilon to be minus f of C by 2, which will be greater than 0 since f of C is less than 0. Right, so what is our conclusion? That if f is continuous at C belonging to A, and if f of C is non-zero, then f retains the sign of f of C in some subset of A containing C. Please keep this result in mind. We will use it several times during the proof of our actual theorem. Okay. let's go for our main aim, that suppose f is a function from closed interval a b to r. Now I am restricting my domain of function to be interval. Okay, and f is given to be continuous. I am assuming a is less than b, so that this interval will be infinite. Suppose f of a is less than 0 and f of b is greater than 0. It is function assumes opposite signs at the endpoints. Then what happens? Can you think of such graphs of such functions? They will be something like this, right? What do you observe in these graphs? Graphs of such functions should meet at least once to x-axis, right? And this point of touching x-axis need not be unique, right? You can have such graphs also, where there can be multiple points at which function meets x-axis. Graph of function meets x-axis, right? And a similar thing will happen if f of a is greater than 0 and f of b is less than 0. You can think of just reflections of these graphs in x-axis. So what is our observation? That if my function f is from closed interval a b to r, and at endpoints function is assuming values with opposite signs, then the graph of the function should meet x-axis at least at one point in the interval. So this is our theorem. This is simple looking thing is our what is intermediate value theorem. And first we will discuss its special case and then we will go for its standard version. Suppose a is less than b, f is a function from closed interval a b to r, and it is a continuous function on closed interval a b. What do I mean by function is continuous on closed interval a b? It is continuous at every point of closed interval a b. And which property it has? That f of a is negative and f of b is positive. Then what is my claim? There exists c in closed interval a b such that f of c is equal to 0. Now f of a cannot be 0 because already it is given to be negative. So by law of trichotomy, it cannot be simultaneously equal to 0. Similarly, f of b is given to be positive, so it cannot be equal to 0. So my c, if exists, will lie in open interval a b and b. Okay, so how we are going to prove this? You have observed that function can vanish at more than 1 point also, such function. What I will capture is that this first point, that is this c, at which function is vanishing. I will not take care of this c1, c2, or in this graph c1. I will check only what happens, how can we capture c, first point at which function vanishes. You can think of similar proof if you want to capture this last point at which function vanishes. For example, here c2, here c1. Okay. So for the proof, I will use this simple graph. So I want to prove the existence of this c and prove that f of c is 0. Okay. For this proof, I will use LUB axiom. I hope all of us know what is LUB axiom. So for that, I want to construct a set such that C will be its LUB. So how will I construct my set? If you observe all points which are less than C and greater than or equal to A, suppose I take X in this interval, closed interval A to open at C, then which property does X satisfy? If you take any point in closed interval X, my function is negative there. You can observe that. You can take any X which is less than C, greater than or equal to A, my function will be negative in the interval, closed interval A to X. Right? So this is how I have constructed my set E. It is set of all x in closed interval AB such that you take any point t in closed interval A to x, my f of t will be negative. I want to use LUB axiom. So which two conditions this E should satisfy? That E should be non-empty and E should be bounded above. You can easily see that E is bounded above because E is subset of closed interval AB. So if you take any element of E, it should be less than or equal to B. So B is an upper bound of E, right? So E is bounded above. Now, can you give me one element of E? A belongs to E, right? Because if you take, first of all, A is in closed interval AB. And if you take any point in closed interval A to A, which is that point, it is A itself, then f of A is less than 0. That we know by hypothesis itself. So A belongs to E. So E is non-empty. Just to get used to the lemma which we proved, can you give me one more element of E? See, f of A is negative. So this triggers us to use the lemma which we proved, that if f of A is negative, since f is continuous on closed interval AB, in particular it is continuous at A, so there exists a delta greater than 0 such that given any x in A minus delta to A plus delta intersection with closed interval AB, my f of x will be negative there. You can observe that this intersection will be nothing but closed interval A to open at A plus delta, because A plus delta cannot exceed B since f of B is positive, right? So if you observe A plus delta by 2, this element, then
Mugdha?
it will also belong to E, right? Yes, sir.
Yeah, we cannot see the screen moving actually. So we are still stuck at the diagram. Have you moved it up?
No, sir.
Oh, you're talking about A plus delta, right? Have you
Yes.
written somewhere, or you're just saying? Okay.
Yeah, I have written, but it will take some time to appear on the screen, I think.
Can you scroll a bit? Oh, I see. It's coming slowly.
Yeah, it
Now
will
it
take
is.
some time. I will not wait for that. Okay.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay, so in interval A to A plus delta, my function will be negative. So if we observe A plus delta by 2, for all points in closed interval A to A plus delta by 2, my function will remain negative. So A plus delta by 2 also belongs to E. So now I have proved that E is non-empty and E is bounded above by B. So I can use LUB axiom. By LUB axiom, there exists C in R such that C is LUB of E. And since A plus delta by 2 belongs to E, A should be strictly less than C. And since B is an upper bound of E, C should be less than or equal to B. That we can observe. Now what I have to do next, that I want to show that f of C is equal to 0. Suppose not, then what are the two cases? By law of trichotomy, f of C will be less than 0 or f of C will be greater than 0. Let's go for the first case. What happens if f of C is greater than 0? Okay, if f of C is greater than 0, since C is in closed interval AB, I can use the continuity of C, continuity of function f at point C. And by lemma, I will get an interval C minus delta to C plus delta intersection with A, that is here closed interval AB, such that if you take any point T in that subset, f of T will be positive there, since f of C is positive. Now, how do we exploit the fact that C is the least upper bound of E? Since C minus delta is less than C, C minus delta cannot be an upper bound of C, upper bound of set E. So there exists an element X in E which is greater than C minus delta. So here I have marked with red a point X which is strictly greater than C minus delta, and that X belongs to E. That means which property that X satisfy? That you take any point T in closed interval A to X, my function will be negative there. So what is the scenario now? From A to X, my function is negative. From C minus delta to C plus delta, my function is positive. Do you see something contradicting here? What happens in the interval C minus delta to X? For example, at X, by one claim, I am saying that function is negative. By another claim, I am saying that my function is positive. This cannot happen simultaneously, right? F of X is negative also and positive also. This cannot happen simultaneously. So this case, that f of C is greater than 0 is not possible. So f of C has to be less than or equal to 0. And so C cannot be equal to B also, right? Because f of B is positive. So now my C, I have concluded that my C is in open interval AB. Now only one thing is remained to prove that f of C cannot be less than 0. If f of C is less than 0, then what happens? C. Again by the lemma, since f is continuous at point C, there exists delta greater than 0 such that given any T in C minus delta to C plus delta intersection with A comma B, my f of T will be negative there, right? Again, use the similar argument. Since C minus delta is less than C and C is the least upper bound of E, C minus delta cannot be an upper bound of E. So there exists an element X in set capital E, which is strictly greater than C minus delta. What do I mean by X is in E? That you take any point T in closed interval A to X, f of T is less than 0. So now from A to X, my function is negative. Again from C minus delta to C plus delta, my function is negative. So there are some points greater than C up to which function is negative. For example, C plus delta by 2. Right? So which property does this C plus delta by 2 satisfy? That you take any point in between A to C plus delta by 2, f will be negative there. So C plus delta by 2 should also belong to my set E, right? So I found one element greater than C, which is LUB of set E, which lies in the set E, that is C plus delta by 2. Can this happen? That means C is not an upper bound of E, but I assume that C is the least upper bound of E. So it has to be an upper bound of E. So this is a contradiction. So f of C cannot be less than 0 also. So f of C cannot be greater than 0, f of C cannot be less than 0. So it has to be equal to 0 and it is lying in open interval AB. So I have proved the result that there exists C in open interval AB such that f of C is equal to 0. You can think of similar thing, what will happen if f of A is positive and f of B is negative. You can reduce that case to this case itself. Okay, now here we saw that the graphs of such functions meet x-axis. But x-axis is not special. If you take any horizontal line between y is equal to f of a and y is equal to f of b, my graph will cut that line. So what I want to say, if I take any point in between f of a and f of b, say alpha, then my function will take that value somewhere in the interval a to b. And that is what is our standard version of intermediate value theorem. Okay, suppose g is a function from closed interval a b to r, which is continuous. Let alpha a real number be between g of a and g of b. Then my claim is there exists c in open interval a b such that g of c is equal to alpha. I am dealing with the case g of a is less than g of b. You can do the similar thing for g of b less than g of a. Okay, so again, for proving this, I want to reduce this problem to the previous special case which we handled. See what is happening here. Here it is g of a, here it is g of b, alpha is in between them. I want to see that there exists point c in open interval a b such that g of c is equal to alpha. I know what to do if alpha is equal to 0. So if I vertically translate my graph such that this y is equal to alpha line coincides with x-axis, then I will be done, right? And I can use my previous special case which we proved. So can you guess which function I will define so that I will be able to conclude that? I will define my function f from closed interval a b to r as given any x in a comma b, fx is equal to g of x minus alpha. Now note that it is given that g is continuous, alpha being a constant function is continuous. So this subtraction by algebra of continuous functions will be continuous. That means f is continuous on closed interval a b. And see what happens at f of a. F of a is equal to g of a minus alpha. I have assumed alpha to be greater than g of a. So f of a will be less than 0. F of b will be g of b minus alpha. Since g of b is strictly greater than alpha, f of b will be positive. So at left end point, function is negative. At right end point, function is positive, and it is continuous on closed interval a b. So there exists a point c in open interval a b such that f of c is equal to 0. But what is f of c? G of c minus alpha, right? G of c minus alpha is 0. That means g of c is equal to alpha. So this is the standard version of intermediate value theorem. You can handle this case similarly, g of b less than g of a. So all of you must have learned the interpretation of continuous functions, that you can draw the graphs of continuous functions without lifting the pen from the paper, right? This is true for only intervals. If the domain of the function is interval, and that geometric interpretation comes from this theorem, intermediate value theorem. Okay, this is my part. If anyone has any question or suggestion, you can take. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Mugdha for the nice talk. Let's open the floor for questions. Yeah, Chaitanya.
Yes, I want to ask that where can we use this theorem? What are the applications?
Okay, I will quote one of the applications. There are many. Suppose my function is from R to R. Okay, and I say that this function f takes only rational values. Can you say what will be this function? How will this function look like?
Maybe we can take constant function. F of x is
Right.
equal to c, where c belongs to q.
Yeah, because if it is not a constant function, then what will happen? There will exist points, say A, B in R, such that f of A is equal to C1, f of B is equal to C2, such that C1 is not equal to C2, right?
Yes.
And we know that by density of irrational numbers, there exists a irrational number, say S, between C1 and C2. So by this intermediate value theorem,
Okay, then it will say that we will be having a function value for irrational function value.
yes.
Okay.
And
Thank
you can prove even existence of nth root using this, or there is something called fixed point theorem that you can prove this using this intermediate value theorem. And one of the most important things it says is that a continuous function maps an interval to an interval.
Okay.
You can
All right.
observe that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, if not, then let us thank the speaker again. So thanks a lot, Mugdha, for the nice talk. And we close here. Yeah, over to you, Kiran.
Okay, so I thank Sakshi and Mugdha. They really gave nice talks. Actually, I'm very happy. So, and thank you, Soumya, Manmohan. So we meet next Sunday.